Let me tell you something that's been burning in my heart, something I need you to understand right now. You weren't put on this earth to live small. You hear me? You weren't put here to play it safe and blend into the background like everybody else. I want to talk to you about becoming unstoppable. What does that mean? It means you develop the mindset that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what obstacles appear in your path, you find a way. You find a way to keep moving forward. The first thing about being unstoppable is determination. You've got to have that fire in your belly that says, I will not quit. Most people give up on their dreams, their goals, their vision for their life because they hit the first wall. But let me tell you something, walls are not there to keep you out. Walls are there to show you how badly you want something. Determination is not about feeling motivated every single day. Determination is about showing up especially when you don't feel like it. It's about doing the work when nobody's watching, when nobody's cheering, when the only voice you hear is that little voice in your head telling you to quit. You know what separates the achievers from the dreamers? The achievers understand that feelings are temporary, but actions create momentum. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait for fear to disappear. Let me share something with you that changed my perspective forever. I used to think that successful people were just lucky, that they had something I didn't have. But then I started studying them, watching them, learning from them. And you know what I discovered? They feel the same fears, the same doubts, the same insecurities that you and I feel. The difference is they've made a decision. They've decided that their dreams are bigger than their fears. They've decided that their vision for their future is more powerful than their current circumstances. And that's what I'm asking you to decide today. Are you going to let your circumstances dictate your destiny, or are you going to take control and create the life you've been dreaming about? Here's what I know about this thing called life. It's going to test you. It's going to challenge you. It's going to knock you down more times than you can count. But every time you get back up, every time you dust yourself off and keep moving forward, you're building something inside yourself that nobody can take away from you. You're building character. You're building resilience. You're building the kind of strength that only comes from going through the fire and coming out on the other side still standing. The second thing about being unstoppable is discipline. Oh, discipline. Most people hear that word and they think it's about punishment, about depriving yourself. But discipline is freedom. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. When I decided I was going to transform my life, I had to get disciplined about my thoughts, my actions, my daily habits. I had to stop making excuses and start making progress. You see, every day you wake up, you have a choice. You can choose to do the things that move you closer to your goals, or you can choose to do the things that keep you comfortable and stuck in the same place. Most people choose comfort. They choose the easy path. They choose to hit the snooze button instead of getting up early to work on their dreams. They choose to watch TV instead of reading that book that could change their perspective. But not you. You're different. You're listening to me right now because something inside you is stirring. Something inside you is saying, I want more. I deserve more. I was created for more. And you're right, you were created for more. You were created to make an impact, to leave a mark, to contribute something meaningful to this world before your time here is done. But let me tell you something that might sting a little bit. Wanting more is not enough. Hoping for more is not enough. Wishing for more is not enough. You've got to be willing to do more. You've got to be willing to become more. I remember when I was struggling, when I was broke, when I was sleeping on a friend's couch because I couldn't afford my own place. I had all these dreams, all these big plans, but I wasn't willing to do the work. I wasn't willing to make the sacrifices. I wasn't willing to get uncomfortable. And you know what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My dreams stayed dreams. My plans stayed on paper. My potential stayed locked inside me, gathering dust, until one day I got tired. I got tired of being broke. I got tired of making excuses. I got tired of watching other people live the life I wanted to live. And that's when everything changed. That's when I made the decision that I was going to stop being a victim of my circumstances and start being the architect of my destiny. You see, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens through you. You're not just a passenger on this journey. You're the driver. You're the one with your hands on the steering wheel. You're the one who decides which direction you're going to go. But here's the thing about driving. You can't steer a parked car. You've got to put it in gear. You've got to press the accelerator. You've got to start moving before you can change direction. Too many people are sitting in parked cars, complaining about where they are, but they're not willing to start the engine. They're not willing to put it in drive. They're not willing to take that first step. The third thing about being unstoppable is persistence. Oh, persistence. This is where most people fail. They start strong, they have good intentions, they make promises to themselves, but when things get tough, when the going gets rough, when obstacles appear, they fold, they quit, they give up. But persistence is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Persistence is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary people. Persistence is what makes the impossible possible. I want to tell you about a time when I almost gave up. I was trying to start my own business and everything that could go wrong was going wrong. I lost my first client. My computer crashed and I lost weeks of work. My bank account was overdrawn. My friends were telling me to get a real job. And I'll be honest with you, there were moments when I wanted to quit. There were moments when I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I should just settle for mediocrity. Maybe I should just accept that some people are meant to be successful and others aren't. But then I remembered why I started. I remembered my vision. I remembered my purpose. I remembered that quitting on my dreams meant quitting on myself. And I wasn't willing to do that. So I kept going. When I didn't have money for advertising, I knocked on doors. When I didn't have fancy equipment, I made do with what I had. When people said no, I asked them for referrals. When I got rejected, I got back up and tried again. And you know what happened? Slowly but surely things started to turn around. One client became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 10. And before I knew it, I had built something beautiful, something meaningful, something that was changing lives. But none of that would have happened if I had given up. None of that would have happened if I hadn't persisted through the tough times. And that's what I'm telling you right now. Whatever you're going through, whatever challenges you're facing, whatever obstacles are in your way, persist. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep believing. Because on the other side of your persistence is your breakthrough. On the other side of your struggle is your strength. On the other side of your pain is your purpose. The fourth thing about being unstoppable is having an unshakable belief in yourself, not in what other people think about you, not in what the statistics say about people like you, not in what your past failures have taught you about what's possible, but an unshakable belief in your ability to figure things out, to overcome obstacles, to create solutions, to make things happen. You see, belief is not about having all the answers. Belief is about being confident in your ability to find the answers when you need them. Belief is not about having a perfect plan. Belief is about being flexible enough to adapt when your plan doesn't work out. Belief is not about avoiding failure. Belief is about knowing that failure is just feedback, that setbacks are just setups for comebacks, that every no gets you closer to a yes. I want you to understand something about belief. It's not something you're born with or with. It's something you develop. It's something you build. It's something you strengthen through action. Every time you do something that scares you and survive, you build belief. Every time you set a goal and achieve it, you build belief. Every time you face a challenge and overcome it, you build belief. And the more belief you have in yourself, the more unstoppable you become. Because when you believe in yourself, you don't wait for permission. You don't wait for approval. You don't wait for someone else to validate your dream. You validate them yourself. You give yourself permission to pursue them. You become your own biggest supporter, your own greatest advocate, your own most loyal fan. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you spoke to yourself with kindness? When was the last time you encouraged yourself? When was the last time you told yourself, you can do this, you've got what it takes, you were born for this moment? Because if you're not your own biggest supporter, who will be? If you don't believe in your dreams, why should anyone else? If you don't think you're worth investing in, why should anyone else invest in you? You've got to fall in love with yourself. You've got to fall in love with your potential. You've got to fall in love with your possibility. Now, I'm not talking about being arrogant or thinking you're better than everyone else. I'm talking about recognizing your worth, acknowledging your gifts, and being willing to bet on yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's what success is. It's betting on yourself when no one else will. It's believing in your vision when everyone else thinks you're crazy. It's pursuing your dreams when everyone else thinks you should be practical. The fifth thing about being unstoppable is taking massive action. Not little action, not gradual action, not cautious action, massive action. You see, most people approach their goals like they're tiptoeing through a minefield. They take one careful step at a time, afraid to make a mistake, afraid to fail, afraid to look foolish. But success doesn't come to those who tiptoe. Success comes to those who sprint. Success comes to those who are willing to take massive imperfect action rather than small perfect steps. Because here's what I've learned. You don't have to be perfect to be successful. You just have to be willing to start. You just have to be willing to try. You just have to be willing to fail forward. I used to think I had to have everything figured out before I could start pursuing my dreams. I thought I needed more money, more connections, more experience, more knowledge. I thought I needed to wait until conditions were perfect. But perfect conditions never come. There's never a perfect time to start. There's never a moment when you feel completely ready. There's never a situation where all the stars align and everything is guaranteed to work out. So you know what I did? I started anyway. I started with what I started where I was. I started despite my fears, despite my doubts, despite my lack of experience. And you know what I discovered? Starting is the hardest part. Once you start moving, momentum takes over. Once you start taking action, opportunities begin to appear. Once you start believing in your vision, other people start believing in it too. But none of that happens if you don't start. None of that happens if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity. The perfect moment is now. The perfect plan is the one you create as you go. The perfect opportunity is the one you make for yourself. So stop waiting, stop preparing, stop planning, start doing, start creating, start building, start becoming the person you were meant to be. The sixth thing about being unstoppable is developing mental toughness. Mental toughness is what keeps you going when your body wants to quit. Mental toughness is what helps you stay focused when distractions are everywhere. Mental toughness is what gives you the strength to keep believing when everyone else has given up on you. Mental toughness is not something you're born with. It's something you develop through practice, through challenge, through adversity. Every time you push through when you want to quit, you're building mental toughness. Every time you stay focused when you want to be distracted, you're building mental toughness. Every time you choose long-term satisfaction over short-term pleasure, you're building mental toughness. And the more mental toughness you have, the more unstoppable you become. Because mental toughness is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Mental toughness is what separates those who start from those who finish. Mental toughness is what separates those who try from those who succeed. I want to tell you about the toughest period of my life. I was going through a divorce. I had lost my job, and I was dealing with some serious health issues. Everything in my life was falling apart at the same time. I remember sitting in my empty apartment, looking around at the few possessions I had left, and thinking, how did I get here? How did everything go so wrong so fast? And I had a choice to make. I could either let these circumstances destroy me, or I could use them to forge me into something stronger, something better, something more resilient. I chose to be forged. I chose to see these challenges not as punishments, but as training. I chose to see this difficult season not as an ending, but as a beginning. And you know what happened? I discovered strength I didn't know I had. I discovered resources I didn't know existed. I discovered that I was capable of handling much more than I ever thought possible. But more than that, I discovered that our greatest challenges often become our greatest teachers. Our deepest struggles often become our greatest strength. Our most painful experiences often become our most powerful testimonies. That difficult season didn't break me. It made me. It didn't weaken me. It strengthened me. It didn't limit me. It prepared me for something greater than I had ever imagined. And that's what I want you to understand about whatever you're going through right now. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. It's not meant to destroy you. It's meant to develop you. The seventh thing about being unstoppable is learning to embrace discomfort. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid discomfort. They want easy. They want convenient. They want comfortable. But here's what I've learned. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is where dreams go to die. Comfort is where potential gets buried. Everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. Every goal you want to achieve, every dream you want to fulfill, every level you want to reach, requires you to do things that make you uncomfortable. Public speaking makes you uncomfortable. That might be exactly what you need to do to grow your business. Networking makes you uncomfortable. That might be exactly how you meet your next mentor. Exercise makes you uncomfortable. That might be exactly what you need to do to have the energy to pursue your dreams. I used to avoid anything that made me uncomfortable. I would make excuses, find alternatives, take the easy way out. And you know where that got me? No. I stayed exactly where I was, making no progress, experiencing no growth, achieving no breakthroughs. It wasn't until I started deliberately seeking out discomfort that my life began to change. It wasn't until I started saying yes to opportunities that scared me that opportunities started multiplying. It wasn't until I started doing the things I didn't want to do that I started getting the results I wanted to get. And that's what I'm challenging you to do right now. Stop avoiding discomfort. Start embracing it. Stop running from challenges. Start running toward them. Stop looking for the easy way. Start looking for the way that will make you grow. Because growth only happens outside your comfort zone. Breakthroughs only happen when you break through the barriers that have been holding you back. Success only happens when you're willing to do what unsuccessful people won't do. The eighth thing about being unstoppable is understanding the power of consistency. Consistency is what turns small actions into massive results. Consistency is what turns good intentions into real transformation. Consistency is what separates those who talk about change from those who create change. You see, most people think success happens overnight. They see someone who's successful and they think they got lucky. They were in the right place at the right time. They had advantages I don't have. But what they don't see is the years of consistent action that led to that overnight success. What they don't see is the daily grind, the small improvements, the persistent effort that compounded over time to create extraordinary results. Success is not about making one big move. Success is about making the right small moves consistently over time. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about doing the work, even when no one's watching. It's about staying committed to your vision, even when you can't see immediate results. I remember when I first started working out, I was so out of shape that walking up a flight of stairs would leave me breathless. I was embarrassed to go to the gym because I thought everyone would judge me. But I made a commitment to myself. I was going to work out for 30 minutes a day, every day, no matter how I felt, no matter what excuses my mind tried to come up with. The first week was brutal. I was sore. I was tired. I was discouraged. I didn't see any results. I wanted to quit. The second week was still tough, but a little easier. I could walk up those stairs without getting quite as winded. The third week, I started to feel a little stronger, a little more confident. By the end of the first month, I had lost 10 pounds. By the end of the third month, I had lost 30 pounds. By the end of the year, I had completely transformed my body and my health. But none of that would have happened if I had quit after the first week. None of that would have happened if I hadn't been consistent. None of that would have happened if I had only worked out when I felt motivated. Consistency is what made the impossible possible. Consistency is what turned a small daily action into a life-changing transformation. And that's the power of consistency in any area of your life. It's not about making huge changes overnight. It's about making small, consistent improvements that compound over time to create extraordinary results. The ninth thing about being unstoppable is developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, your intelligence, your talents can be developed through hard work, good strategies, and input from others. Most people have a fixed mindset. They believe they're either smart or they're not, talented or they're not, capable or they're not. They see challenges as threats to their ego rather than opportunities to grow. But people with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities. They see failures as learning experiences. They see criticism as feedback that can help them improve. When I first started speaking, I was terrible. I would stumble over my words, forget my points, lose my audience's attention. I was so bad that sometimes I would embarrass myself. I had two choices. I could tell myself, I'm just not a natural speaker. Some people have it, and some people don't. I should stick to what I'm good at. Or I could tell myself, I'm not a good speaker yet, but I can learn, I can improve, I can get better. I chose the growth mindset. Instead of avoiding speaking opportunities, I sought them out. Instead of making excuses for my poor performance, I analyzed what went wrong and worked to improve it. Instead of seeing my mistakes as proof that I wasn't capable, I saw them as data that could help me get better. And you know what happened? Slowly but surely, I improved. I became more confident, more articulate, more engaging. Speaking became one of my greatest strengths, something I'm known for, something that has opened countless doors for me. But none of that would have happened if I had adopted a fixed mindset. None of that would have happened if I had believed that speaking ability was something you're born with, rather than something you can develop. Whatever area of your life you want to improve, whatever skill you want to develop, whatever goal you want to achieve, adopt a growth mindset. Believe that you can learn, you can improve, you can get better, because the truth is you can. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, which means it can form new neural pathways throughout your entire life. You can literally rewire your brain but it requires a growth mindset. It requires believing in your ability to change, to adapt, to evolve, to become more than you are today. The 10th thing about being unstoppable is understanding that your environment shapes your destiny.
the people you spend time with, the books you read, the shows you watch, the music you listen to, the conversations you have. All of these things are programming your mind and influencing your behavior. If you want to be unstoppable, you need to create an environment that supports your goals rather than sabotages them. You need to surround yourself with people who believe in your vision, who encourage your growth, who challenge you to be better. You need to distance yourself from people who drain your energy, who discourage your dreams, who try to pull you back down to their level. I know this can be difficult, especially when some of these people are family members or longtime friends, but you have to understand that your life is too valuable, your dreams are too important, your potential is too great to let other people's negativity derail you. You don't have to be mean about it, you don't have to burn bridges, but you do have to protect your energy, protect your vision, protect your momentum, and you need to be intentional about what you're feeding your mind. If you want to think like a successful person, you need to consume the same content that successful people consume. You need to read the books they read, listen to the podcasts they listen to, attend the seminars they attend. You need to immerse yourself in an environment of growth, positivity, and possibility, because your environment will either lift you up or drag you down. It will either inspire you to greatness or convince you to settle for mediocrity. Choose your environment wisely. Your future depends on it. The 11th thing about being unstoppable is learning to manage your time like it's the most valuable resource you have, because time is the one thing you can never get back. Time is the one thing that no amount of money can buy you more of. Yet most people waste time like it's unlimited. They spend hours scrolling through social media, watching TV shows that don't inspire them, engaging in conversations that don't add value to their lives. If you want to be unstoppable, you need to become ruthless with your time. You need to eliminate activities that don't move you closer to your goals. You need to say no to opportunities that distract you from your priorities. I used to think I had to say yes to everything. I thought I had to be available to everyone. I thought I had to be involved in every project, attend every event, help with every request. But you know what happened? I was busy all the time but never seemed to make real progress on the things that mattered most to me. I was always reacting to other people's priorities instead of focusing on my own. That's when I learned the power of saying no. Not because I didn't want to help people, or because I didn't care about their projects, but because I realized that saying yes to everything meant saying no to the things that were most important to my own growth and success. I started asking myself, is this the best use of my time right now? Does this activity move me closer to my goals, or further away from them? If I do this, what am I not doing that might be more important? And I started making different choices. I started saying no to requests that didn't align with my priority. I started declining invitations to events that weren't going to add value to my life. I started being more selective about how I spent my time. The result? I accomplished more in 6 months than I had in the previous 2 years. I made more progress toward my goals because I was finally focusing my time and energy on the activities that would actually move the needle. Time management is not about doing more things. It's about doing the right thing. It's about focusing your limited time and energy on the activities that will have the greatest impact on your life. If you want to be unstoppable, you need to treat your time like the precious commodity it is. You need to invest it wisely, protect it fiercely, and use it in the 12th thing about being unstoppable is developing unshakable focus. In a world full of distractions, the ability to focus deeply on what matters most is a superpower. Most people can't focus for more than a few minutes at a time. They check their phones every few seconds. They have multiple tabs open on their browser. They try to multitask their way through life. But multitasking is a myth. Your brain can't actually do multiple things at once. What it does instead is rapidly switch between tasks. And every time it switches, there's a mental cost. You lose momentum. You lose depth. You lose quality. If you want to produce exceptional results, you need to develop the ability to focus deeply on one thing at a time. You need to eliminate distractions, create boundaries, and protect your attention like it's your most valuable asset. I remember when I decided to write my first book. I had been talking about writing a book for years, but I never seemed to make any real progress. I would write a few pages, then get distracted by something else. I would start a chapter, then abandon it for a different project. Finally, I realized that if I was ever going to finish this book, I needed to create an environment that supported deep focus. I rented a small office space with no internet connection. I left my phone in the car. I told everyone I knew that I was unavailable during certain hours of the day. And you know what happened? In 3 months, I had completed my first book, not because I was suddenly a faster writer or because I had more time, but because I was able to focus all of my mental energy on one project, without distraction. Focus is what turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Focus is what allows you to go deep instead of wide. Focus is what enables you to create something meaningful rather than just staying busy. If you want to be unstoppable, you need to master the art of focus. You need to learn to say no to distractions, to create boundaries around your time and attention, to go deep rather than shallow. The 13th thing about being unstoppable is learning to embrace failure as your teacher rather than your enemy. Most people are so afraid of failure that they never attempt anything challenging. They play it safe, stick to what they know, avoid risks. But failure is not your enemy. Failure is your teacher. Failure is how you learn what works and what doesn't. Failure is how you discover your limits so you can push beyond them. Failure is how you build the resilience and character that success requires. Every successful person I know has failed more times than most people have even tried, but they didn't let failure stop them. They let failure teach them. When I first started my business, I failed more times than I can count. My first product launch was a disaster. My first marketing campaign fell flat. My first attempt